What's up, gamers? Welcome to Battle Mallet Podcast, episode 56. Our review of Daggok's Stab-Ladz and the Malevolent Masks. If you guys could see Trace and Jason's faces right now.
Oh, it's just funny. Like, I mean,
every time. It's like we've recorded 55 episodes prior to this, and I start the episode the same time, same way every time.
The funny thing is like normally we do it on purpose, but this time it was like, so for context, listeners, like Jerod's always like, hey, we're gonna go on like 45.
Yeah.
And typically Trace and I will, the first run, always chime in and say something funny and to throw him off. This time it was a genuine comment and Jerod just kept rolling, and then we restart and this is what you're getting. This is right. Like just raw, unedited.
Yep.
I'm still chuckling at how it went down. But anyway.
It's so good. So for anyone that isn't familiar, the Battle Mallet Podcast is the journey of three busy gamers playing games that they love, balancing life with those games, and making their way to the open convention. I've already said our names, but we're going to do it again. My name is Jerod Johnson. Tonight I am joined by Trace.
Interrupting Cal.
Hyde. And Jason Table Dude Murray.
Oh, it's going to be a good one.
I can feel it. I can feel it in my masks. I was going to say my bones, but it doesn't. I can feel it in my giant over my shoulder sousaphone. That's what I can feel it in. Anyway, so we'll start things off with another thank you to Games Workshop for sending us a copy of Daggok Stab-Ladz and the Malevolent Masks deck early so that we can get it in our hands, take a look at it, review it offline so that we can create this online review for you. So again, we just appreciate the opportunity to produce this content. And that's what we'll be doing in tonight's episode. So we're going to go through and do our standard review of both Daggok Stab-Ladz and the Malevolent Masks, giving you our hot takes, giving you our best picks for the objectives that you want to see early, power cards that you want to see early, running through playstyle and things like that. But before we get into the nitty gritty, we will do what we always do, and we will ask what everybody's been up to. And I'm going to start with Trace because he's making just the best Grumple-Dumpus face right now.
I promise to deliver the best content and the most professional content on the internet.
Oh my goodness, that was so enthusiastic.
So thank you, Jerod, for that warm introduction. I have been doing a lot of gaming. I've been playing a lot of Underworlds. These two knuckleheads have been kind of rocking around doing their own stuff over the past couple months. And so I've been trying to hold down the fort with as far as the Underworld stuff goes. So I've been playing a lot of Underworlds with our local gaming group.
And doing a fine job.
No, doing an awesome job, man. You've been killing it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate
We
that.
appreciate you.
I don't, but I'm going to say I do.
It's my contribution to the podcast. I don't do anything else except for show up and just act dumb. So, but I've played some interesting stuff. Yeah, killing it. Yeah. Been playing some interesting stuff. I've really been enjoying the new Breakneck Slaughter deck from Death Gorge. I've tried a couple different iterations with that. One with Morgok and one with the Gnarl Spirit pack. The Gnarl Spirit pack is a lot of fun to play with it because it's my ABC deck, as I've so affectionately started calling it, because it's just always be charging. If you can get charges off, you can score some glory. You don't even have to hit half the time. So I've been enjoying doing that. I think most of us on the podcast at this point have picked up some Legions Imperialis.
Yeah, as of today.
Minis.
As of today.
Yep.
So been kind of toiling over that. I've done a couple little tester minis. Everybody else has their Legion figured out. I don't, because I'm ridiculous with how I want my stuff to match. So I've not picked a Legion yet. But those tiny minis are cool, and I've painted up like a test Imperial Fist and a couple test little Solar Auxilia. So those are something I've been working on. I've been painting some Tyranids with my son.
Ooh.
He originally wanted to paint his Tyranids in the quote unquote internet famous coconut crab scheme originally, but he has since shifted gears and he wants to paint them as High Fleet C2, which is a newer one that GW has released, which is like a purple and black scheme. So we did some minis of that over the past couple days before recording. But yeah, I am really looking forward to Legions Imperialis and trying to get some stuff on the board for that. I have a full 3 foot by 3 foot printed 3D printed board that I'm looking forward to playing on with that. I'm going to keep expanding that as time goes on, but for the stuff that's in the starter box, I think that is plenty of size for us to wet our whistle.
Wait, we were only supposed to buy the starter box?
Whoops.
Nikes.
I mean, I messed up on that too. So
you can buy whatever you want.
So I have a question now. Like, when I'll get into why I've been kind of MIA here when it's my turn, but when it comes to Legion Imperialis, I just picked my stuff up today, and today was like really the first time I've been in hobby shops looking at the product since it's come out. And there was a shop that had the tiles, which everyone knows I love terrain, I love boards. So they had the tiles. Like, we're playing on a 6x4, right?
Nope, it's a 5x4.
It's a 5x4.
Standard size is 5x4.
Okay, because like the box comes in 2x3.
Correct.
For $100.
Yes.
So by my calculation, because I thought it was a 6x4, I had to spend $400 just on tiles.
No.
Do you have any of the tiles?
You still have to spend $400 on a 5x4 and have some tiles left over, probably.
But so do you have any of the tiles?
I don't have the tiles, the official GW tiles. I have tiles that I got from a third-party company that I have printed on my FDM 3D printer. It has been buzzing away for the past month or so.
So, like, do you think? And I don't, again, because I just picked up the box and go, oh crap! Like, I'm playing this game, but I'm not $400 for some tiles in. Like, what happens if let's say we just pick up one box? Mm-hmm. Like, what is that going to look like on the table with like 6 tiles and then nothing on the board? Like, well, you think it'll look stupid, or is that just like a city?
I think it's going to be interesting, and I think that is going to be the biggest barrier to entry for a lot of. It's great radio, Jason. There's going to be a lot of. I think you can use to start with mats and stuff that you have at your house to try it out. I also know that there's some great places that you can probably print off some papercraft buildings to try that are in the appropriate scale, that are similar to the old Epic printed cardstock buildings. I've seen some of those been kicking around a little bit. But I got a 3D printer last year for my birthday. So I've been just trying different things on it. And one of the things that when they announced Legions Imperialis, one of the things that I really was like all for was trying to print out some cool terrain to use with 8mm scale. So I've been just kind of knocking away at that. Not everybody has that luxury, and I get that. But there's probably, I think that the most analogous buildings that you could get that would be pretty affordable would be, and please forgive me for saying this, is the Drop Zone Commander buildings. Those are very appropriate for this scale. And I think that you could probably get away with like any generic like Earth style mat to do it. I think that would be fine.
Yeah, I just
but I see what you're saying, Jason. Like it is kind of, it's a barrier. I agree.
I just don't. I guess in my mind, because I haven't seen anyone play it at a shop, right? I watched some battle reports, but they're pretty like well outfitted with
Right.
the stuff.
Right.
So I'm like, I have that desert mat. So I was like, okay, do I just put the desert like barren mat and then you put these tiles like in the center and it's like you're coming out of the wasteland
Yeah.
into this? Like, does that look okay?
Yeah, I've seen some battle reports just like because I'll put something like that on when I'm just doing work. And I've seen some folks that have done that and done, a few buildings on those tiles that have been just like basically like a city block in the middle of like a barren wasteland. It looks fine. Like it's not going to hurt anything to play that way. I mean,
Okay.
if you're just starting out, like if you want to make a full urban board out of those tiles, it's going to take a little while probably. But
It's going to cost you about $1,000 to do in
you're right.
GW in the actual GW product because
Right.
like I also ran across the box of the buildings. Then there that were like
Yeah.
170, and then there was like ruins, and I forget what they were, one something.
No,
And
the
just
ruins are 75. I got
okay.
a set of the ruins because I wanted to mix those in with the terrain that I was printing out, the full
But
buildings.
so the bill, and I know we're way down the rabbit hole here, but we haven't really had time to talk about this as a group. So you guys
No.
are just getting this raw, and that's fine. So the buildings and the ruins, is that like the amount of terrain that you need for the 2x3, or does that cover more area?
So I've built one. So in the ruins kit, I can kind of speak to this. So the ruins kit comes with 2 sets of the same sprue, and the instructions for that tell you 2 whole different separate ways to build each set of sprues. So, and it covers a fair amount of board. Like I would probably say it's enough to cover. Well, I'm not going to say it's a lot, but like it's enough for you to, it's enough for you to cover like a 2x2 little board with some cover, right? It's not going to be a lot, but if you get some of those, like I said, if you get some of those papercraft buildings or something from like Drop Zone Commander and you mix those ruins in with that, I think it gives a nice variety, and then it gives some cover and stuff for the miniatures to actually stand on. So
Yeah, I guess I'm just like
expensive.
all like, and I am, so our listeners should know, like when it comes to money in the hobby, I very rarely judge any price that is put out there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I want a full city, like with the ruins and the tiles, that's, let's just say like, and I hope those buildings go more than just 2x3, right? Like when you build them all and you put them all out, I'm hoping the saturation is not that, but that is $280 and then $75 for the ruins. Like we'll just call it $350 for even math, and it's probably right about that.
Yep.
Times 4. Like would be the most expensive board I ever had to put together.
Yep.
So
I think
guess
you're
I'm
better
just
off.
trying to,
I think you're better off as a player getting something like what you have, Jason, with the like those barren wasteland things like that. The what are they called?
Battlefield in a box.
Battlefield in a box. If you can find some of those, anything that's like nondescript, that's not like a ruin.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Not
you'd be
because
fine.
it doesn't need a scale.
Right. It doesn't matter. It just looks like a really big plateau or whatever. And you can still put infantry on top of that if you really wanted to.
And that's where my mind is right now, is like,
yeah,
I don't think I have the 4x6 barren wasteland. I think it's a 4x4 or 3x3.
You only have a 4x4 of that one.
So I'm glad you know what I have.
I do know. I've played on that one several times. I know it's a 4x4.
So, whatever. So I have a 4x4, so I don't have a 4x5. But if I'm okay investing $100 for tiles, $180 for a set of buildings, and another $100 for ruins. It's when I have to buy multiple of those sets to fill out the table that I'm like, all right. So that's that. I'm very excited for Legion Imperialis. Every single time I look at it, every single time I watch Battle Report or read something online or just look at the minis, like I'm really excited. So when you painted your test mini, did you do it on sprue?
No, I actually. So funny thing is most of the things that I've tested, have been little rogues that have fallen off the sprue in transit somewhere. So those are just guys that have fallen off and they're in the middle of the box. Like, if you buy the game, for the love of God, make sure that there's no minis just like rolling around in the box, because they're so small. And if you're like underneath all those cards in the card stock, just make sure if you buy that set that you check the box, because when you get down the line, like the ones that have fallen off on mine, one is a missile marine, which there's only like 8 in there or 10 in there.
Good.
And then the other one is a plasma marine, which is only like 10 in there. So if you lose those, and GW even says in the rule book, it's like there's supposed to be 5 on the base for line of sight purposes. So make sure that they're not in the bottom. But that's what I painted,
cool.
was the
cool
ones
that
that fell off.
They give you what's supposed to be on the base.
Yeah. They also say in the rules something to the effect of like, make sure that you discuss with your opponent if there's going to be any kind of, like, if you don't have that descript number of minis on the base, make sure that there's concessions made for line of sight purposes, blah, 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 blah. Because I know that there's a lot of 3D printing repositories out there for Epic Scale, because it's been a non-supported system for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm pumped about it. My big thing is that I haven't really built anything yet because I don't know what I'm going to paint stuff. I probably should just build the Imperial Guard, because I know I can paint them in a specific way and it was not going to matter really, or the Solar Auxilia. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been up to. I've also been painting the Daggok Stab-Ladz that you guys will see on the release of this podcast.
Nice.
So those are going to be pretty cool.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. The enthusiasm out of some of you all tonight. Just
I know, right?
Crazy.
It's almost like it's late and I'm tired.
Pumpkin time, and
it's already pumpkin time, and we haven't even started the episode yet.
Okay, I'm done. Jason, go.
Oh, is it my? I mean, I've talked a lot.
Go for
I don't care. I'm hijacking this episode, Jerod. I get you guys like once in a blue moon. So I've been MIA. That is that has been my hobby progress. So work really since Thanksgiving has been absolutely insane. We had a couple of visits. We had the senior vice president, and then we had the CEO, CMO, CFO, and one other C something or others. And then, yeah, like we just had a ton of people in. So really from Thanksgiving till last week, Monday, I was MIA. Also had a huge personal stuff going on. Like Sarah was gone for roughly 2 weeks dealing with a family medical emergency. So I was a single parent for almost 2 weeks while all that work stuff was going on. So I've gotten really no true hobby stuff done. As we mentioned today, I picked up Legion Imperialis, the starter set. I picked up the Thunderhawk finally. Like I've been contemplating purchasing that model since it was released many, many years ago. And then listening to some podcasts, apparently the infantry are hard to find. So there was a box of Legionnaires, so I picked that up as well. Here's my other complaint about Legion Imperialis as I've delved into this today. It is very hard to distinguish the box from Heresy to Legion Imperialis.
Oh, they do look very similar.
They look similar, and they use the same pictures. So like there was
the same font.
Yeah, font too. There was some knights or not knights, but there were some Titans out there in the one shop, and I'm like, oh look, like, oh wait, no, this is the full scale Titan, and like, yeah, it just little differentiating. Like it's gold writing, and Heresy is silver writing. That's the way to tell them apart. But it's out there. Excited to get started on that. And then really like Loricana has fully consumed the Murray household. That is the other thing that is balancing life in games. So Emma and I should say this last one, we went to one tournament, which was this past Saturday. For Loricana was, I think, 12-person tournament, and Emma went 2-1. So
pretty
that was
good.
good. That was good. Yes, it's one step up from her very first tournament where she went 0-3. But we've been trying to play that every other week. I'll be honest. I think we've only gotten out twice in the last 45 days. But that hasn't stopped us from falling down the TCG rabbit hole and collecting all the cards because I'm a collector. We are there. We are a short 3 cards away from having the first set. It's
Godspeed,
problems,
sir. Godspeed. I'm so sorry.
You stopped buying 40K and quickly found something else to spend your money on.
Yes. Well, it doesn't help that I found a shop locally that sells singles, so that has catapulted quickly over the last week. Yeah, and it's relatively on the way to where I have to travel a lot.
No.
So when I was stressed out at work, it's like, yeah, I'll stop and spend $20.
Yeah, little retail therapy.
Yes. So that, I think that's pretty much been it. The only actually miniature game that I've played is I played your ABC Gnarl Spirit pack into Jerod's. Oh my goodness.
Serene's Razors.
Yeah, Serene's Razors.
How'd you like it?
It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if the other person didn't enjoy it. Just
Sirenes is a hard one to crack, though. I feel like I think you have to have a certain mind to really do that well.
And then we played some Dice Throne, which was great as well. So that was really it's a great
Christmas present.
It's a great for those that aren't familiar with Dice Throne, it's a simple board game. It's kind of like Yahtzee and the power deck from Underworlds. That's the best way that I could really put it. Is you have the dice that you roll that are just like Yahtzee. You're trying to get symbols and numbers to do actions and attacks, and then I have this power deck that is almost like Underworlds, where you can do upgrades, you can do gambits and reactions, and it's fun, simple, and I've liked it. But that's Enjoy Toy.
Yeah, don't forget what else you've been buying.
Joy Toy has taken over the hobby purchases, so I have all but the line himself, the loin. Every Dark Angel is now in my possession, which means that the Ultramarines have been displaced to a different shelf. But they're beautiful, they're fantastic. I really enjoy those figurines. So yeah, that's me. That's what I've been doing. Nothing but everything.
Nothing but everything. Yeah. So so been playing some games. I've made it out to the non-Monday meetups, and then surprised everybody this past week by showing up randomly, unannounced, to the Monday meetup. It is worth noting that the Serene's Razor Void Curse Thralls deck that I played is G, who took it to the World Championships of Warhammer, and had some pretty decent success with it there. So the deck has legs. I just have not played a lot of Void Curse Thralls, nor have I played a lot of Serene's Razors. So just getting used to it there. I've spent some time playing with the Thricefold Discord, and they
spicy.
They easily lend themselves to some negative play experiences just by virtue of like the temptations, and making your opponent make bad choices. I was playing a game against one of our local gaming group, Justin, and I had
unsubscribe.
I had the wielder of the blade vulnerable. He was playing Headsman's Curse with Daring Delvers and had played the domain that means that if you are on a feature token, you're on guard. And he had, in the round prior, delved the feature token into a cover hex. So he was on 2 defense dice looking for anything but single successes. And I said, okay, cool, that's great. Well, now you get to make a choice. Either I get to push him 2 hexes off of that so that he is adjacent to one of my fighters, or you don't get to activate him for the rest of the round. Which is, neither of those are great choices. I think he made the right choice in not activating him, right? He's vulnerable. I'm going first. Or no, he had missed an attack. So I was going second, being able to play the power cards into this. There was a good chance he was going to die anyway. So his best chances of success were probably to stay on the cover hex on guard. But then old Vash just came in with her bolt and crit hit him, and that was all she wrote. So
yeah, didn't he post his stuff for sale after that?
He did, yeah, all of it. Yep.
No.
For like $1. It was awesome. No, Justin's a great sport. He's probably one of the most gracious losers that we have the opportunity to play with. I feel like he always learns something too, and is vocal about that, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I think my point of that is, if you're really looking to be competitive in Underworlds right now, I don't think you should be sleeping on the Thricefall Discord. I know that Domatan Stormcoven and Ephelum are the new hotness, but this was Thricefall Discord with Force of Frost, which is kind of the problematic deck.
Frost, it's kind of gross.
So maybe don't sleep on them if you're trying to be competitive, and then maybe do sleep on them if you're trying to build your community. Just my 2 cents. Outside of that, I think I don't know that I've done much hobby since the last time we recorded. I think I had painted everything that I had painted when we recorded with Zach last. So my life has also been crazy busy with work and kids and running around to swim meets and all that stuff, gearing up for the holidays. So I think that's it. I'm excited about Legions Imperialis as well. I have not had the opportunity to build anything, but I am taking a decent chunk of time off between Christmas and New Year's. So I hope to be able to sit down and do some of that, get some stuff built, maybe get some stuff painted. So I think that's it. So
which Legion did you choose?
Oh yeah, so I am going with the Thousand Suns because I was sitting at my son's swim practice like the day after I got the box, and which Trace kindly picked up for me. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
And I opened it to the marked page with the ribbon, the way that it came shipped, and it opened to the Thousand Suns page. I was torn between Thousand Suns and Blood Angels, but I just took that as the fates weaving themselves open before me. So I might get punished if I make the wrong choice here. So
I think that's a great choice. Jason, what did you choose? You didn't divulge that when you talked earlier.
Secrets are best kept to oneself.
So Dark Angels?
You'll never know. No, Emperor's Children is where I am most leading, although the Dark Angels are just
the black and red paint scheme is
super easy, right?
And looks really good.
The thing I've always wanted to do Emperor's Children, even in 40K. I love purple. I think that there's going to be more unique units with Emperor's Children, but I am very much struggling. Like, I have such a large Crimson Fist force in 40K. It's very difficult to shift, but my first love, and I like Dark Angels have always been my chapter or my Legion. So it is very hard to have an opportunity to start a new game and not go that route. Plus, I don't ever play the bad guys. So, Anyway, that's where we are right now. Let's go easy.
That's where we are right now. So this has been a nice 30-minute intro. So we'll take a break here, and when we come back, we will talk about Daggok's Stab-Ladz. And we're back, and we are ready to talk about Daggok's Stab-Ladz, the next warband in the Death Gorge season of Warhammer Underworlds. These were previewed a long time ago. Not a long time ago. When were they previewed?
Feels like a long time ago.
It does feel like a long time ago. Yeah, it's about a month ago, right? Yeah.
They were previewed at Worlds.
At the World Championships of Warhammer. We're not going to run through the fighter cards, bit by bit. The one thing that is worth calling out here is that this feels a lot like, I'm going to say Iron Skull's Boys like 3.0, right? So you got a Destruction Warband, you got 4 fighters, they're all sitting on 4 wounds. Their move 3, for most of them, you got 2 guys with pretty garbage attacks, uninspired. You got 2 guys with decent attacks, uninspired. The leader inspires to 5 wounds, and that's pretty sweet. So, it's like take everything that you like about Iron Skull's Boys and then just make it better. One of the things that they have is a plot card, and so that's the Schemes plot card. I'm not going to read it out loud, but the idea is that there are some gambits that persist in ways that other gambits don't, that you can then complete and put them under your plot card, and that will do some things for you. Spoilers, it's completing like objectives. But it gives you kind of a new way to play with gambits in a maybe more cunning way than people are necessarily used to. And maybe they could be brutal. Yeah. They could, yeah. Maybe they're cunningly cunning or brutally brutal.
Maybe.
And a whole new twist on destruction. So, so things that are worth calling out. They all inspire to 4 move. Daggok Fink Stealer has a nice reaction. It is a range 2 reaction called Cruel Cunning. It is range 2, 1 fury, 1 damage, attack action, reaction. After another friendly fighter's move action, this fighter makes this attack action, targeting an enemy fighter adjacent to that fighter. This attack action cannot be modified. So it's a reaction a lot like Manox in that it triggers off of your friendly fighter's moves, but it gives him another attack. So he's basically got his own little wolf bite going on. So there's a good chance if you get things lined up right, you might be able to make this attack multiple times per round. And that's really good because he inspires when he deals damage to a second or subsequent fighter in the same phase. Yep. So, yeah, we don't need to go through everything. I just said we're not going to go through everything. You can see pictures. I know. We just don't want to spend all the time talking about numbers. So they all get fairly accurate when they're inspired. They all go to 2 damage when they're inspired. The other one that's worth talking about is Herc de Howla. So this is our destructive sousaphone, the Roar of Kragnos. This is a reaction after this fighter's activation. If this fighter did not make a super action, give this fighter 1 roar counter. While this fighter has 1 or more roar counters, this fighter supports other friendly fighters within 2 hexes. Clear this fighter's roar counters at the end of the phase. So we'll dig into this as we start talking about their playstyle, but kind of in some of the games
now. Like you just
what? Well, all right. Well, we'll keep going then. That's fine. But in the games that we played, kind of a standard opening move for us was to move Herc into the middle of the battlefield, and now he's got this nice radius of support for the rest of the warband. So why don't we talk about Grak to Hook with his range 2 fighter and the snag reaction? We've seen reactions like this before. Reaction used this during this fighter's attack action after the out of action check. Push the target 1 hex, then the combat sequence ends. So this is a lot like Glissette's. No. Help me out here, Jason. What's his name? Hadzu's reaction, where you can push the fighter in any direction. It's tightened up the verbiage a little bit. Push the target 1 hex, then the combat sequence ends. So that's going to skip the drive back step because this is the reaction after the check, the out of action check. You can kind of maneuver people around, and because it's range 2, you get a lot of flexibility in where you can pull them. So you can pull them into adjacent to you or a lot of different directions. Jags is just mean.
So, I mean, Jags is one of my favorite fighters of the war.
No, he's such a cool fighter. He's got the dagger in his teeth and dagger on his back and dagger in his hand, and He's got all the weapons.
I think what I would add about the fighter, so like he has,
Yeah.
Jags has 3 Fury for single damage with Grievous. His Inspire, because all their Inspires are different. His Inspires is if you take a fighter out that already had wound counters on them, right? So, but the 4 fighter warband, each one of them has their own utility, and that they are not like a very straightforward aggro warband, although they are aggro. Like it's, you have a tool for everything that you need to do, and you kind of have to get each fighter to synergize. But really where they start to take off is their plot card. So Jerod, what's their plot card?
I talked about this plot card, the schemes card.
Oh, did you talk about it?
I did talk about it.
Sorry, my anger of work is still raging over.
Yeah, nothing like getting a phone call during the break between sections while recording a podcast. Yeah. So I mean, that is a good point, and I think that's going to lead itself towards maybe some of the favorite objectives that we want to see. So
let's do it.
Jason, are you still sitting in your anger, or are you ready to review a card?
Still, I mean, I can review a card because the plan worked, right? And the reason I'm aggravated at work is because the plan would have worked if we made a plan.
But there was no plan.
There was no plan. So anyway, Surge, score this immediately after you put a second or subsequent scheme under your warband's plot card in the same phase.
Yep.
We'll get to this more in depth when we get to the schemes, but it's kind of the shtick of the warband. So you're going to want schemes, and they do some stuff that we like. So I think it's pretty easy to get 2 of them under your plot card.
And so this is just a reminder. These are like the 3 objectives that you want to see early in the game. This is what you're hoping to see early to get your seed glory going so that you can continue to be successful for the rest of the game. Trace, you want to grab the next one?
Sure. I like some storied stabbing.
Who doesn't like some storied stabbing?
Right. Duel. Score this in an end phase if the number of friendly fighters out of action is lower than the round number, and the number of enemy fighters out of action is equal to or greater than the round number.
That seems really important to get out early.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
It's 2 glory. It's 2 glory.
It is 2 glory. It's 2 glory end phase. That coveted 2 glory end phase.
I think that it's going to be difficult if you're going into an elite warband, right?
Yep.
But the fact that your fighters have 4 wounds, having this earlier is it's a much easier to score. So
yeah,
Jerod, I don't think you're the only one that's going to be playing this for a little while.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
just because the fighters are kind of sturdy, they have a decent profile for all of them.
Yep,
and some of these objectives are really, really good.
Yeah, no, they look like, I think they're going to be a lot of fun. We've had fun thus far, so I'm excited to see them out in the wild. All right, so the last objective that you want to see early is Deceiving Destiny. So we got a nice image of old I want to say Brodus, but it's not Brodus. It's
that's Oberyn, sir.
It's Oberyn. It's the original Oberyn, the proto Brodus. Trying to smash Daggok with his giant mallet. This is a Surge hybrid. Score this immediately after an enemy fighter's attack action that targeted a friendly leader, if that leader is surviving, or that had a dice characteristic of 3 or more and failed. So, because of Daggok's reaction, you probably want him towards the front anyway. And in round 1, the chances of him getting domed in a single attack are pretty slim. And so it could be an attack that failed too, right? It doesn't have to damage him to hit that first condition. But if it has 3 or more dice and it fails, then you trigger the second condition. So
I mean, it doesn't have to be your leader then.
It does not have to be your leader then.
So
lots of flexibility.
You know who's probably not going to miss though?
Who?
Lashveer.
That's probably true. She is poor Vexmore just does not inspire until Lashveer is dead. Yeah. All right. So those are the objectives that we want. What are we thinking in terms of gambits. And before we get into this, I just want to point out, so the way that we do this is that we all look at the cards separately. We each pick our 3, and then we compile them together and we create a master list of the top 3. And that's why sometimes in our reviews, you'll get like a bonus gambit or a bonus upgrade, because we can't decide. And of the 9 cards that were chosen, there was literally one discrepancy across the entirety of this podcast. So,
and I'll come to that whenever we get there.
Yep. So we're going to get a bonus gambit from Trace, but in the meantime, I'm going to kick it back to Jason to give us the first gambit that we want to see early.
Yeah, so bust their ears. One, just because, I like the art. It's got the horn duder blowing the horn and busting some eardrums. But it's a scheme, right? Play this only as described on its plot card. In the turn in which this card is turned face up, friendly fighters supported are considered to have one additional supporting fighter. So he's supporting twice, and then the condition which this goes away and is placed under your plot card is a friendly fighter makes an attack action supported by Haruk.
Yep.
And it's obviously restricted to him, which this restriction ad is really nice because then it can be cycles if he's out. So
yep.
But I really like this one. I truly think that playing mid-board and getting him to that mid-board with a horn counter or a roar counter is going to be very, very beneficial. And this really can make your leader's little wolf bite attack extremely accurate.
Pretty spicy.
Yeah, so it's on a single die for a fury, but now if he's double supported, it counts as a single die.
It's a hammer.
It's better than a hammer.
No, it's a hammer on his card.
When he's
a hammer when he's inspired.
Yeah,
oh, is it?
It's a fury uninspired.
Fury uninspired.
I was looking at the inspired side.
Yeah, and that doesn't count as a modification.
Yeah.
So
it
still goes through. And so I think this is a good time to talk about this because we talked about it in the pre-show. So on the plot card, it says each scheme persists until you meet the condition described on the card. When you do so, put the scheme under this card. So in previous rule books, there was verbiage in the rule book around persisting gambits that persisting effects went away at the end of the round. The Death Gorge rulebook does not have that caveat. In the persisting gambit section of the Death Gorge rulebook, it just says that gambits that persist until they say that they don't persist anymore. And so there is no, so don't get trapped in old versions, right? Like I think a lot of us, if we've been playing this game for 6 years, we get trapped in previous editions of the rulebook. So just know that you put this scheme down, it's going to stick around past the end phase. So keep that in mind. And not just this scheme, but any other scheme.
I think it's important to note too that it can end before the end of the end phase, or it can persist through, depending on whether the condition is met. And that's kind of the point that we were discussing at the beginning, and that's what I was trying to get my point across to you, Jason, was it can either end before, or it can persist through the end of the round. So it depends on the scheme that you put down, depending on if conditions met or not.
Yeah, I think the other nuance or thing that the player is really going to have to grasp what these schemes is I play the schemes in your power step, right? So before my turn. But when I play them, they're face down. So you, my opponent, have no knowledge of what I'm trying to set up, right?
Yep.
Then I activate and they turn face up and I get the benefits of those schemes.
Yep.
The round happens. If they trigger, they go underneath my plot card. If they don't, and it goes into my power step, I can return any of those persisting schemes back into my hand. Right? So that's why in the pre-show I was trying to get this clarification is I go through 4 activations. Let's say I play 2 schemes and they don't trigger and they're still persisting. I go into the end phase. I draw up to 5 cards.
Yeah.
Then I go to the end of activation 1 of my activation, and then I can pick those up and I can redeploy now 7 power cards as I see fit, always kind of giving this illusion of you don't really know what's coming. You know I have these 2 cards because you saw me pick them up, but you don't know what I'm playing or what I'm trying to set up. And that's why I really like the scheme mechanic.
Yeah.
I think it adds an element of surprise, which these orcs, because they are the swampy, skinnier orcs, are more cunning than brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a good chance that you could have 7, 8 power cards in your hand. Like, you're going to get some pretty sick card draw. Like, you could just, if you have a handful of schemes, you could just dump them all in your last power step. And now you've got an empty power hand going into the end phase. You're like, well, I guess I'm just going to draw up to 5 and then pick up these 4 schemes. So now you have no idea what card I'm going to play. That's a good point, Jason.
They have to be played.
Yeah.
In your power
They're
step.
played in my, if I'm playing it, they're played in my power step face down. And then revealed
the next round. They flip your next
at the start of my next turn. So, yep. So after your power step, all that stuff. So, speaking of schemes and finking, we liked Outfinkum. So this is a scheme. Play this only as described on its spot card. In the turn in which this card is turned face up, when an opponent plays a power card, draw 2 power cards. Condition, you draw your second or subsequent card since this card was turned face up, other than by using a player action. So we like this one. I like it for 2 reasons. 1, you get to draw 2 power cards anytime your opponent plays a power card. 2, it adds an element of control to this warband because you can reveal this, and now your opponent has to decide: is it worth giving?
Play this or not?
Yeah, is it worth putting this upgrade on to give my opponent 2 more power cards, or am I not going to do that and try to make other things work? And I think that the reality is that most players have built their power deck to play the power cards. So by playing this game, I think more often than not, it's easy to score, right? I mean, it's easy to accomplish. All you have to do is just draw 2 cards, which will happen as soon as your opponent plays a power card. So it's an easy scheme to accomplish and complete, and it just feeds your power hand even more. So, it's definitely the Finkin man's scheme for sure.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite one because it puts pressure on your opponent to evaluate what they feel is more powerful, to give you more
Just
cards, or
no.
play an upgrade or whatever. So
I like it. All right, Trace, I'm gonna give you the next 2. So
I'm gonna go the not Finkin man's thing and go Rush 'em, which is a scheme. Play this only as described on the plot card, and the turn in which this card is turned face up, +1 move to friendly fighters. Condition: a friendly fighter's move action ends 5 or more hexes from where it started and adjacent to 1 or more enemy fighters. Things you're going to want to do anyway with, Stabby McStabberson. So, yeah, it's just nice and simple. You get a +1 move, and if they're inspired, you're moving 5, which achieves this condition, and then you score cards, which is great.
Or Grack. So Grack to hook can score uninspired. So he's moved 4 out the gate.
Yep.
Oh, listen, this card is so much more complex than just the +1 move. Like this helps positioning with your leader, getting within 2 to really achieve what he needs to achieve by doing the move attack.
Yeah.
Because let's say all your fighters are inspired, right? They already achieved that, so they're all moving 5. It specifically says the condition is ends 5 or more hexes from where it started. Not that you moved 5 hexes, that you end more than 5 hexes. So you might have to get around somebody, and then when you draw the line back through your opponent, you're really only 3 hexes away, 4 hexes away.
Yeah.
Then it allows the scheme to stay in play for somebody else to get the +1 move.
Yep. Or you use your range 2 attack.
Right.
And so you don't end adjacent.
Yeah.
Yep.
So There's
So you can move 5 more hexes away from where you started, as long as you don't end adjacent to an enemy fighter. So you've just yeeted yourself across the board, and now the rest of your warband can still continue to yeet.
Yep, to move the additional +1. It's really good.
It's good.
There's a reason this one was universal across all three of us.
Yep.
But I will say,
I see why you picked the last one.
Yeah.
Because what haven't we picked?
So the thing that 90% of the time when we talk on this podcast about what is powerful in this game, and everybody's probably screaming it that's listening to us is a push.
Yep.
Nobody said anything about a push. Well, I'm going to say something about a push.
You should.
So this is cruel teamwork. Choose 2 friendly fighters. Push each chosen fighter 1 hex. This is 2 people being pushed.
That's really good.
2.
It's really good.
So, in a positional aggro warband, being able to push 2 fighters is huge. So,
I agree.
It's my honorable mention to this. Since
no conditions other than you have to have 2 friendly fighters, right? They can push them any way you want.
Choose 2.
Yep. Choose 2.
Yep. It's pretty good. All right, Jason, what do we want for the upgrade side? As he tabs over.
Big bully.
You are a big bully.
It is restricted to everyone but the leader, I believe.
Sure. Yep, that is correct. Hurt, Jags, and Grack.
Yep. And it's +1 wounds.
Nice.
So
5 wounds.
5 wounds. It's a risk for the two glory, but 5 wounds is pretty tough to get through, and not just having 1 fighter that has 5 wounds, but now you have 2 fighters in a warband that have 5 wounds. So
yeah. Seems pretty good. Pretty good.
Yep.
All right. What else we like, Trace?
Well, I'm going to continue stacking on these defensive buffs and say that Death Proof.
I love the name of that.
Yep. Proof. +1 defense while 1 or more of your warband's schemes are persisting.
Yep.
And then the flavor text is, I knew you was going to do that, says Daggok Finkstealer.
Daggok Finkstealer. Yep. Yeah, and so we just talked about how you can kind of force some schemes to persist until you're ready for them to not.
Yep.
And this is a great opportunity to take advantage of that. Yeah. So the last upgrade that we all agreed on was Cruel Braggart. This is a reaction upgrade.
Like this one a lot.
After you put a scheme under your warband's plot card, gain 1 glory point and break this card. So
wow.
Just get a glory.
Get a glory.
Not an objective. So it's not tied to your objective deck. Just get a glory for doing what this warband wants to do anyway. And it's not restricted. So it's not restricted to Daggok, which, like you would think would be the case. So any of these Finken orcs can gain some glory just by doing what this warband wants to do.
I think in the Rivals setting, this is really, 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 really powerful.
Yes.
In your Nemesis setting, this kind of loses value a little bit because you may not have as many schemes that you're trying to play.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
or maybe you just stack the schemes,
or you stack all the schemes. Either way, I'm just saying, like, it's just something to consider depending on what pairing you have for that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because I think that this warband could play, like, their inspiration mechanic is not tied to schemes at all.
No.
So I don't think that you have to go heavy in that regard for Nemesis.
Nope.
Cool. Trace, you've said it a couple times. What are we going to call this play style?
Positional aggro.
Yeah. Get them in the right spot and then crump them.
Or, you could kind of play it flex. You could say it was flex a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. I think there's some flex into doing schemes. Scoring just by doing schemes.
Yeah.
And aggro.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's pretty diverse. There's a lot of tools in the toolbox. It's very toolboxy.
Yeah. Jason, what boards do we like?
Those ones.
Those ones?
Then we say Glacial Tomb.
Glacial Tomb and
I closed
Frost-Racked Ruins.
I closed that tab. Yep, those are the two.
Yeah, those are the same side of the same board. There's a different side of the same board, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So just take that. Whatever one says Glacial Tomb, that's a good one to start with, to try it out with.
Yeah, I just think Glacial Tomb and Frost-Wrecked Ruins give you position no matter what, where the boards are laid out, how they're positioned. Because I don't think you really want to be right on the line. I would prefer like the second row would be my preference to where to deploy. Because I want that scrum in the middle. I want the horn to be supporting. I want my leader to be using his range 2 to poke at everybody. Really, it's the other two guys that I need to make charges with to kind of trigger the other stuff. So, and we don't want to just lose a fighter right away. So,
right. Yeah, I mean, 4 wounds is nice, but it's not invincible.
No.
Yeah.
So
I was counting. The reason that I didn't have that pulled up is because I was just counting the schemes. I think there's 5 in total, so half the power deck from Rivals. I do think that most of them transition. You probably build with 3 or 4, and then the nice thing is there is card draw in their deck. Yeah. So even if you want to trim down to the 3 or 4, chances are you're probably getting them out. But I just think it's a really cool mechanic, and I think that most of the schemes are something you're going to want to have anyway. So,
yeah, I agree.
There are 6 schemes.
Yep.
Oh, there's 6. Okay.
6. You probably missed the last one. Take that head.
Probably.
Or
just
so speaking of schemes, how are we scheming against them?
Don't group up.
Yeah. Don't pile up. Don't
you're
try to
gonna
pile
lose
up
a
against
scrum
them.
match.
Yeah, with all the supports, and you got Daggok's reaction and Hurt roaring at you with his sousaphone of death.
Yeah, I just remember that 2 hexes is kind of their sweet spot, right? You have 2 fighters that attack from 2 hexes away. You have a supporter or a guy that supports from 2 hexes away. So the more you clump up, the more efficient they become with those attack actions and the supports. It's almost like playing against Manok, but they don't have the move shenanigans that they have, but they have more attack shenanigans. So
and tougher fighters. They don't have any soft targets like Manok does. So
all orcs are soft.
Well, those aren't orcs. Not in Manox. Them's is Hobgrots and Grots. I think the other thing is probably want to aim for Daggok. You can eliminate the extra attacks out of them.
Yeah, if you can,
probably a good idea.
It's a cut the head off the snake type approach.
I mean, it's not gonna cripple the warband.
No,
it's not like taking out Manok.
But you're taking a lot of opportunistic attacks out of the equation.
Yeah.
By potentially removing Daggok.
And if he's inspired, you get 2 glory.
Yep.
So that's nice. What are we thinking for Nemesis pairing?
Void Curse draws all day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, I just think with the repositioning that Void Curse allows you to have, and the fact that they're most
extra
of those
attacks.
Yeah, those are move actions. Gives you more opportunity to lean into the poke, stab. And trust me, if you can get him to be efficient with those multiple attacks, we've seen that wolf bite and Rippa's just do so much work over the years, and this is a range 2 wolf bite. Like it
is only 1 damage, right? Like it's never gonna get 2 damage.
Yeah, but if you can get something like that gives you Grievous on it as a Void Cursed fighter too.
I don't think it can be modified at all, though.
Yeah, I think Grievous counts as a modification.
Does it? Yeah. Well.
But still. Like, I mean, reactions,
Well, yeah,
priorities.
those two things alone are what I thought of, and then the forced movements.
Yeah,
Like those are the three things that I thought of in conjunction with this was one particular fighter that I was like, oh, that could be gross.
Yeah, yeah, could be good times. Right, we seem pretty hot on them. Jason, what are we calling the new player rating?
I think they're silver. Like I do think that there's a lot of play here. They have the wound pool to get in there with the ping meta that we're currently in, but those schemes and the way that you have to kind of go through your power deck and pick and choose the tool that you need, it just keeps them away from being a gold.
Yeah, I agree. Cool.
I do think that they'll struggle against something that doesn't want to play their game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so a good example is like the Stormsire with Force of Frost passive stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're just not playing what they want to do, and they're going to struggle against that.
But I think that's pretty.
But that's universal, though. So
yeah, but that's what kind of where the meta. Like I shouldn't even say meta. Where this game,
scissors.
Yeah, where this game is kind of is there are going to be hard counters because I mean, what are we at? Like 77 warbands. I'm exaggerating, but we're
not by much.
But not by many.
Yeah. We're whatever it is, 40 or 50 warbands in. You're just going to have different play styles that don't fit what that warband is trying to do. Yeah. I do think that they will struggle against hard hitting elite warbands just because of the positioning factor.
And their defense stats aren't super great either.
Yeah.
But they don't do a lot of damage either. And that's the thing. Mm-hmm. Like none of them goes to 3 damage. They all get pretty accurate, but 2 damage without gambits and upgrades is as far as you're getting out of them.
Yeah. So I think that that's where we are in the game. The life cycle of the game is this is a very cool warband with very cool flavor, with very cool mechanic. It's not going to, and I could be wrong. Like it's not, but I just don't think it's going to dominate every matchup. I think it's going to be very serviceable, very good. I think that this and Void Curse Thralls are a match made in heaven because the player that likes Void Curse with the extra thinking that goes into setting up all the moves and all the tricks that Rivals deck has kind of fits in with what they want to do too. Mm-hmm. So I think that we're going to get some really fun builds out of it. And I can't wait for, someone to really unlock all the schemes and shenanigans that they have. So excited to see them out there.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
Too. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we will talk about Malevolent Masks.
And we're back to talk about Malevolent. Blah, 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 blah.
I asked you to run us through it just because I wanted you to say Malevolent, Jason.
I can't say that word. Malevolent. Forget this.
Masks.
Just lean into it. Just lean into it. Masks.
So we're here to talk about this violent mask deck. I don't know what it's called.
Mad Masks.
It's Mal and Violent.
It's not even close to that. I love you, Jason.
Right.
Oh,
fantastic
masks.
Malevolent.
Is there a plot card?
There is no plot card.
Championship players rejoice.
Oh my goodness, it's not plot
or
locked.
lament, depending on.
Yeah, that's true. How much ping is in this deck? JK.
But it's a very interesting deck. Very timely to come out with the orcs. Excited for it to get there, but it's a little bit different. I think this kind of falls into the Void Curse kind of style of deck. It's got light hold, but otherwise it's flexible. But it builds kind of slow. But where do we want to kind of start with objectives? So if it builds slow and we have these masks, what objective do we want to start with?
So I think we have to pick objectives that don't deal with the masks. So all of the masks in this deck are upgrades. So you need glory to apply them.
Wait, I can't just put them on for free?
No, man.
Oh, man.
I know, right? Godsworn Hunt players lament. So I think what we want to see early out of this deck is Feast of Violence.
It's a feast?
It is a Feast of Violence. A Feast of Malevolence. Malevolence. This is a Surge duel, so it's a little trickier to set up, being a duel, but it is very straightforward to play. Score this immediately after a friendly fighter's attack action if that was the third or subsequent range 1 or range 2 attack action made by a friendly fighter in the same phase, and each of those activations was made in a different activation step. So you're not going to see the glory from this until
at least round 3.
Round 3, unless you somehow have actions that are reactions to your opponent's activations.
Right.
So, but they don't have to be successful attacks. They can be range 1 or 2. Dang, it's like we just reviewed a warband that has 2 range 2 fighters or something. Interesting.
Just making attacks. That's all. It's pretty straightforward.
I still don't love this deck for them, but we'll keep going.
Oh yeah. No, I don't know. I was just trying to keep it timely.
I'm with you.
All right.
But it's a pretty easy surge scoring, late round 1.
Yes.
Okay. Trace, what else do we want in the objective deck?
So after 3 attack actions, you're going to hopefully score Hooded Stranger. Score this in an end phase if one or more friendly fighters with a mask upgrade are in enemy territory. When you score this objective, if there are no enemy fighters adjacent to one or more of those friendly fighters, gain 1 additional glory point.
Nice. Coveted 2 glory end phase.
Yeah. And if you're making attack actions, you've probably crossed the line at some point.
Hope so.
So hopefully you're over there and you've killed something. And with that kill, you've put on your mask. And nobody's adjacent to you, so you score an additional glory. That's the hope.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or you could put it on the 4th fighter and just
that's fine.
Walk in.
Whatever.
Just walk them in, get across. You maybe don't play the mask upgrade until the last power phase.
Yeah.
And then put it on and
boom.
Yep.
And you can make a choice. Like maybe it's you spend a glory to get a glory, right? Like just cycle the cycle, even if you are adjacent. Okay, awesome. So the last objective we have is a good solid spread. So this one's score in the end phase. If there are 1 or more friendly fighters in your territory, no one's territory, and enemy territory. And the reason I think that this one has to come out early is you have to have enough fighters to achieve this.
To actually do it,
Yep.
yeah.
This is very much an objective that I would have said a couple seasons ago. Like, this objective is silly. It's stupid. Like, 3 fighters in 3 different territories. But the way that the game is played now, this happens more than we think.
Yes.
Like, you just happen to have your fighters in each of the territories, especially early game. Once this goes late game, and if I'm building a deck, this one might get cut out. But when you're just playing the rivals, we want it early because, again, the first 3 objectives that we're looking for is just to get more seed glory, to get more mask upgrades out.
Yep.
Okay, so that's objectives. You'll notice that in this deck, when you get see the full preview, there are a number of objectives for like standing on an objective, or a certain number,
odd or an even.
And it's not standing on; it is hold.
Yep.
Holding.
Yep.
Holding. You're correct.
Yep.
Those are fairly easy to score, but again, what we're trying to do is get you the seed glory to get those, to those objectives. So if they are the first objectives that you see without being able to kill somebody, it may stall your deck. Now, if you're playing a very aggro warband and you feel that you can get your seed glory from stabbing someone in the face, then by all means, those objectives may work better for you.
And it is important to note that there are surges, And there's hold surges that are after any activation step. So a lot of the surge hold
enemy
objectives right now are after an enemy's activation.
Yep.
So it gives your opponent a chance to counter. I think the caveat, it's a trade, right? You have to have a mask. So now you can score it during your activation.
Yep. And do we have one just to read it?
Read what? A mask or
no? One of the objectives. So it's
So
Go ahead.
Vision of Success, Surge Hybrid. Score this immediately after an activation step if a friendly fighter with a mask upgrade holds an objective with an even value, or your warband holds 3 or more objectives, 1 or more of which are in no one's and/or enemy territory. So the other one is friendly fighter with a mask upgrade holds an objective with an odd value, or your warband holds 2 or more objectives, 1 or more of which are in no one's and/or enemy territory.
Yeah, that one's a little easier because it's odd and it could be in your territory.
It's odd and only hold 2.
Yeah.
So Vision of Success is definitely more difficult because there are only 2 even numbered objectives, or you have to hold 3, but that's what they are. So Audacious Aspect and Vision of Success.
Awesome.
Are the hold.
So I'm just going to move us right into gambits because now we have a bunch of objectives. The gambits, I'm going to go with the Hooded Rush. So choose a friendly fighter with 1 or more upgrades. Again, we need that seed glory to kind of get this going. Push the chosen fighter 1 hex. Oh, I like pushes. If the chosen fighter was a mask upgrade, you can push the chosen fighter 2 hexes instead. So we love the pushes. Yes, you need to have an upgrade out, but 2 hexes to set up an attack or to get on an objective. Whew, nice.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yes. Trace, what's another gambit that we're looking for?
There's a lot of text on this card I'm about to read. This is Revealed Aspect. Pick one. Draw 1 power card.
Okay, draw a card.
That one's pretty easy, right?
Play a card, draw a card.
That's
not
net
the 0.
That's not the text I'm talking about, though.
Okay.
Or choose a friendly fighter, including fighters who are out of action with 1 or more upgrades. Add 1 of those upgrades to your hand, then give the chosen fighter 1 upgrade from your hand or power discard pile. Do not spend any glory points when you do so. What do we want to do with this deck, gentlemen? Put what on?
Masks.
You can do that for free? Is that what I'm understanding correctly?
Yep. You can take a mask that you've already put on a fighter and put it on another fighter.
Yep.
Without having to pay the glory for it, which is pretty nice.
Pretty good. Moving buffs around is nice.
Yeah.
Or you can pull a card out of your discard pile and put it back on them.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's cool.
We'll get to why being able to pull things out of your discard pile is important.
Yes.
Once we get to the masks.
Okay. Yeah. Jerod, bring us home on what?
Yeah, so Unveiled Ambitions. Search your power deck for a mask upgrade. Reveal that card and add it to your hand. Then shuffle any remaining cards in your power deck. So not just draw any card. Draw exactly the card that you want.
Yeah. Search it for
and you want it early because it gives you the opportunity to get the masks in your power hand early. You may not have any masks left if you have this card late. So
anybody want to do an honorable mention of Possessive Crouch or no?
No.
All right.
Nope.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm convinced that Revealed Aspect is a better card than Possessive Crouch coming in early. Actually, I'm not really sure why I didn't pick Revealed Aspect. But there is an honorable mention that I think that we need to bring up. I gotta find it. Where is it? So this is not one you want early at all, but it is super cool. So this is Maskborn. Choose a friendly fighter with a mask upgrade that is out of action.
Nope.
All right, so you have to have somebody out of action, right? You're hoping for that not early, right? Yep. All right. Place the chosen fighter on a starting hex in your territory. The chosen fighter then makes 1 action. After the following search step, the chosen fighter is taken out of action. When the chosen fighter is taken out of action in this way, they have no bounty. The chosen fighter makes 1 action. A super action is a special type of action.
Oh my.
So I guess you could charge. Even if you can't charge, You could still make an attack action with this fighter. Maybe the masks have actions on them.
I mean, it doesn't
Maybe you need to do actions from masks.
It doesn't specify that you can't take a super action. So
yeah. So that might need clarification because I know that the wording changed in the Death Guard rulebook between actions and super actions, but like super action is a very specific kind of thing. But and then after the following search step, the chosen fighter is taken out of action. When the chosen fighter is taken out of action in this way, they have no bounty. So you get to bring them back on, and then you don't have to pay for them dying again.
Yeah, the one action is very. There may need to be some clarification there, right? Because a super action is a combination of multiple actions, right?
Yeah.
And it's one action. So I think the intent is just one action, like a move or attack, but still a very, very powerful card. And then if you combine that with the revealed aspect, like you can literally like give a fighter that's out of action a mask upgrade, right? You add one of those upgrades to your hand and give the chosen fighter one upgrade from your hand or power discard pile. So you could like put a mask on them to bring them back with Maskborn. And then, you know, if we have the ultimate combo, you just hooded rush them and push them to get them into position to take a swing. Just really, really, really fun combos. Maybe not all fire the way they're supposed to, or have all that combination of cards when you need them. But it is the first time that we've seen interaction with out of action fighters other than reviving them. So,
And then also it's worth noting too that those actions, all the mask upgrades are mostly actions to do. So yeah, there's a lot of things.
Most of them are like active things that you want to do. Like that are going to help you in further activations. But
but like there's a couple that are like attacks or whatever. So there's things that you can do with those.
Cool. I mean, speaking of the masks.
Speaking of masks.
Jerod, what mask would you like to pick for an upgrade?
What mask do I want? I'm gonna pick. Did I actually pick this one? Yeah. Okay. We were pretty split on this deck, by the way, friendly listeners. So, Envy's Shroud. Oh yeah, this one makes sense.
This one's universal across all of us, though.
This is a mask. +1 wounds. When you give this to a fighter, if that fighter has other upgrades, any other upgrades, break those cards. You cannot give this fighter upgrades other than mask upgrades. The flavor text is not attributed to a fighter, but is instead attributed to the mask itself. And it says, "Mine, Envy Shroud." So this mask is laying claim to you. It destroys all of your upgrades, and you can't take any other upgrades other than masks, but it does give you +1 wounds. So if you have a pretty decent fighter profile, just bump them up. So bump somebody from 3 to 4 wounds, or 4 to 5 wounds, or it could be Kanan and go from 6 to 7 wounds.
Yeah, there is no large.
It's not restricted to non-large fighters.
Or Malak could go to 8.
Malak could go to 8 wounds. That sounds horrible.
Okay, well, the next mask that we're gonna select here is the Eternal Smile mask. When a fighter has two mask upgrades, break 1, and then it gives them a action, which is
Rictus.
Thank you, Rictus of Carnage. +1 damage to this fighter's range 1, range 2 attack actions, other than scything attack actions until the end of the round. So you're putting on an upgrade to take an action to give +1 damage. It is a bit high cost, but we don't see a whole lot of +1 damage. So
nope.
I think it's pretty cool, and I like extra damage. And if I'm playing a 3-fighter warband, what do I care if I'm burning an action to do it?
That's right.
Not a lot.
And it lasts to the end of the round.
Too. So
yeah, Kanan goes to 5 damage.
I see a theme.
Or the wielder of the blade goes to 5 damage, or more if he's got some wetted tokens.
Again, there's still a theme, which we'll get to in just a minute.
Okay.
Yep.
So the last upgrade is Vitrix's Eye Mask. When a fighter has two mask upgrades, break one. Piercing Stare action. This fighter makes the following attack action: range 3, 2 smash, 1 damage, grievous 1, and cleave.
Not a bad attack action
little
upgrade.
Range profile. Yeah. But is it attack action upgrade?
I don't think. No, it's not. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Where is a card that is an attack action? Because I think that cards that are attack actions say like attack action on them, don't they?
I mean, it says this fighter makes the following attack action.
Oh, yeah. But is that the only way to make that attack action, or are there
so
other
is
ways
it the action? Is it the piercing action? Piercing Stare action you're taking, or is it an attack action?
I think you're taking the Piercing Stare action, which lets you make the following attack action. Let me find one. What do we got? The Darkwater Anchor. Nope. Cursed Boarding Axe. So I'm going to say that this is not an attack action upgrade because it does not have the attack action keyword at the top of the card, as opposed to the attack action bolded word, which is not a keyword in the rulebook. It just is to provide emphasis and clarity for
interesting
rules. So I'm looking specifically at the Cursed Boarding Axe from the much maligned Deadly Depths Rivals deck, and the Cursed Boarding Axe says attack action at the top, and then it gives the attack action profile.
I mean, just to bring something a little more current and relevant. Force of Frost, Iceburn Blade says spell attack action.
Spell attack action. What about the Force of Everwinter Staff?
What about the
attack
staff?
action?
Attack action.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah. All right. So
Blizzard
this is
Dart,
not an attack action.
Attack action.
So you cannot do this as part of a charge, is what I'm reading.
Yes. It is
because a charge is
action. Piercing Stare is an action.
Yes. Oh. So if it's not an attack action upgrade, does that mean that you could put this on a Zarnby?
I believe so.
I believe so. Or a doggy.
Or a doggy.
I think that's where the spice of this card lies.
Oh my gosh, there's a witch hunter dog running around with a
laser beam eyeball.
With a one-eyed bandana wrapped around its face, shooting laser beams. I love it. That's awesome.
I think it's cool. I think it is a cool upgrade and a way to get around, people that cannot take attack action upgrades. So
I mean, Kindlefinger's already got one eye, so what does this hurt him?
Okay.
Don't give that dude any more buffs.
The other thing too is Void Curse would still block it though, right? Because you can't take any actions other than what's
correct. Yeah,
that's right. Yep.
Well, cool. So I kind of went through our thoughts introducing the deck, right? It's kind of like a light hold, but otherwise flexible deck. It has a little aggro, has a little bit of everything in there, a lot of tricks. The key for this deck is to get that glory, like 1 or 2 glory early, so it can start to snowball and score the other objectives. But what play style or warband do we want with it?
Whatever you want.
Whatever we want, right?
Yeah. So boards wise, you're just gonna pick whatever matches with the warband that you pick and kind of what they're trying to do. I think if you're playing against this, you need to target the things that have masks on, even though people can bring them back or pull them off of dead fighters. But it's going to burn your opponent's resources if you're making them do that. But Jason, I'm gonna flip it back to you because I think that you're the one that is probably the most excited about resurrecting maybe an older warband with this deck. So who do we like with them for Nemesis pairing?
I think that there is some really cool interactions with Exile Dead. You know, the whole Regulus Markov, you take an action wording kind of on their on his puppeteer action. Can lead to some cool mask interactions. I do think that the skeletons may have some play in this as well.
Yeah.
Really, like, I think that anyone that can res back onto the board is going to see some really good pairings with this. But I also think that, you know, I'm probably wrong and that someone will find some weird combination with vampires, and this will be like the next
Headcracker.
the next best thing. I like these decks that are not straightforward and there's a little different mechanic in there. So yeah, any warbands you guys are excited to try with it?
No, but like I was saying, the theme that kept coming up was warbands you could bring fighters back. Was kind of my thing. Like if you can get a mask on a fighter and then you can bring them back to continue to utilize that mask, it's big. So any warband that can do that, I think, is a big winner with this deck.
Yeah, it just has, like, there's that one card, Displacing Figurine, which is an upgrade, and it's like an action, and you pick an objective in an empty hex, place this fighter on the objective you pick, and then of course you give them a charge token. But I think of, like, you know, hold style warbands that oh my goodness, the Stormcast with the big bows, right? Like
Storm of Celestis.
Yeah.
Storm of Celestis, yeah.
Because they have objective shenanigans already built into their deck, so this like just doubles down on that.
Yeah, and isn't there Inspire? Oh my goodness, now I gotta look them up. It's been so long since
Storm of Celestis. They inspire if they make a
great bow
attack. It specifically says great bow. I was like, is it just a range 3 attack? Because like you could totally get away with that.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, that'd be funny. Pew pew laser beams.
Yeah, I really think it's kind of like a Void Curse style of deck. Like it's just different, and it's gonna take some playthroughs. The only concern, and we've mentioned about 100 times, is the fact that to get the objectives and items to fire in this is you need upgrades out, which kind of you need to make sure that you start strong to get it to flow. So with that, what is our new player rating?
Bronze.
Yes. Yep, it's bronze. I think just because of how slow this deck is going to be to build glory.
And actions are nothing to shake a stick at, right? We only get 12 of them throughout the game.
And you're going to be spending some of them to not charge or move or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yep. Makes sense to me.
Well, awesome, guys. We've gotten through both the masks deck and the new warband, so we will take a break for the outro.
And we're back, and that will wrap up the 56th episode of the Battle Mallet podcast. As always, we want to say thank you for taking the time to listen, to join us as we talk about Daggok, Stab-Ladz, and the Malevolent Masks. Just a reminder, you know, like everybody that's on the social medias, we really want you to smash that like and subscribe button. You can see all of the artwork and painting that we've been up to on both Twitter and Instagram. We are Battle Mallet 1 on Twitter, Battle Mallet PCast on Instagram, Battle Mallet Podcast on Facebook. We have a Discord server, so if you want to join us and just chat, the link is in the show notes. We're also publishing our podcast to YouTube. I know that there are a lot of people that listen to podcasts that can't use podcast players while they're at work, but they can listen to YouTube. Pretty sure that we're Battle Mallet Podcast on YouTube, but there'll be a link to the YouTube channel in our show notes. I think that's it as far as the needful goes. We do want to shout out two of the bigger upcoming events in the U.S. So as we come out of the holidays, just remember that at the beginning of February and end of February, there is LVO and the Cherokee Open, respectively, both of which will have the opportunity to win your way into the World Championships of Warhammer, likely occurring in a year from now. I know that Trace has already purchased his ticket to the Cherokee Open. It's a pretty easy trip for us. It's about 4 hours from where we are. It's not super conveniently located to any major airports, but it's convenient enough if you don't mind a rental, and you'll be in a great facility. Beautiful scenery like we talked about last episode. And then LVO, obviously it's in Vegas. It's Frontline Gaming's big event. There'll be a ton of people there playing Warhammer Underworlds. Just another opportunity to try to make it to the championships. Anything else? Any closing thoughts, remarks, concerns, quandaries, riddles?
I'm just hooked on this mask deck. Like I'm
you're digging through it right now.
Mad scientist this up already. I'm excited just to see it.
I love it. Cool. Well, for the Battle Mallet podcast, we are the Echo Guys, the Frostbitten Veil, and the Howling Hood. This is Jerod signing out.
Interrupting Cal saying bye.
I'm Jason Table Newberry. Get the hell out of here.
Peace.
Oh, go Bills.
The Battle Mallet podcast is protected under the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find more information via links on podcast.battle-mallet.com. Music by Anno Domini Beats. What's up, gamers? Welcome to Battle Mallet Podcast, episode 56.
Start over.
I'm not starting over. I told you when I was going, and then
I wasn't paying attention to the clock. I was looking at something else. Jesus,
I know,
just
happens.
Start over.
Oh my gosh. You're killing me, Smalls.